All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of the Remote Closing Academy podcast. And in this one, guys, we're going to be breaking down the tips, the tricks, and the strategies behind a $10,000 a month remote appointment setter. Now, the reason I'm also really excited about this episode, not only to dive into that stuff, but this is someone that's actually on the RCA team, and he's been on the team for about a year. So if you're on the team for any more than like a couple of months, you're doing pretty good because you're hitting projections and you are performing at a really high level. And he's actually able to not only crush company records, but honestly records within the entire high ticket industry. So we're going to dive into all of that, the specifics of exactly how he did that, some of his personal experiences and how he's been able to stay high performing in a high performance culture. And across the board, I think this is going to be a really, really good episode, whether you're thinking about getting into remote closing or you're already a setter or closer already for any other company. So I'm going to stop talking without further ado. Let's jump into today's episode with Mr. Jacob Combs. First off, Jacob, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm super stoked to be here. I've been watching them, so
it's gonna be fun. And this one, I was telling Jacob before, this one will probably get a little bit more tactical towards the end in terms of like best practices for being a setter. He just handed off a call where he transitioned into a closer for a couple of minutes and closed the deal as well. So we'll get a little more tactical towards the end, but we'll just, for the first part here anyway, we'll keep it to the grassroots of what we usually do. So I guess let's just rewind our clocks back. I mean, a couple of years, and we've crossed paths a couple times as well. But even before the digital marketing stuff and that kind of game, what were you doing before? And let's chat about that.
So we can take it back like pretty far. I have a pretty weird job history, right? Like when I was in high school, I was always a basketball player, but like I ran Subways for a bit in my area. The biggest thing though is like being a musician at those like late teen years, like doing the grind, like going on a couple like tours, doing, trying to make music work. So that was took a lot of my life, but I think I learned a lot of my entrepreneurial tendencies from that, because you're always trying to sell yourself. You're always trying to like sell yourself to management companies, getting on better tours, getting on better shows, things of that nature. Once the band disbanded, I got into restaurants. I went back, started as a cook, but then worked up into management. Red Robin. A lot of people probably know what Red Robin is.
Yep.
But I was a manager there for a good while. But up until like what really got me into the online journey was, COVID hit. It affected a lot of people. And I remember my income got cut by 30% and everything. And seeing things online, you can make money, you can do this. And I was like, I can make money. Let's try it. And the funniest thing was one of the first things I ever invested into was Jeff Lerner's Entre program. And it was like his low ticket buy-in. It was like $30. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I ended up actually going through a lot of that, investing more into the agency training, which I was partnered with a guy named Brian Magnosi, who is actually a really, really good friend of mine. One of my I call him like one of my first heavy mentors. We worked a lot together still over the years. And that really got me like going, because I learned like the ins and outs of some marketing, like what it took to like sell, even though I was terrible, like cold calling 200 people a day.
Yeah. All
that good stuff. So about this time, I was like loving it, right? I'm still going to work. Like I'm doing stuff at work because the restaurant's basically closed down. But I have I have a wife. I have 2 little girls. At the time, I only had my first daughter, but my whole house broke, right? Like legitimately, whole house broke. HVAC had to replace it. Water heater had to replace it. My basement flooded like twice. I had to reroute my plumbing. So I dropped like 4 or 5 car size loans on this.
Goodness.
And was basically like negative in my account. Like I hold myself like super prideful in what I do. And when I was a little younger, I was like that person who was like, oh, I got to show that everything is okay. Like I'm not going to reach out for help. But I remember reaching out to family. Like I don't know like what's going on. Like I don't know if I can pay my bills, like anything like this. And fast forward to when I first talked to Jared Warwick from AHG. He was setting, tried to sell me like live to like everything. Like they tried to get me on. I like got on. I couldn't buy because I was broke. But I remember calling my dad and I was like, Dad, if you like front me this money, like I'll literally pay you back. If I don't make this money back by the end of the year, like I'll give you your money back. And this is this. Didn't bite. He's like, it's money on the internet. It's not going to happen. So I remember like I actually got a bonus from a quarterly bonus from the restaurant. And I talked to John Hederich, and he was like, dude, you put down $1,000, you're good. We'll get you in.
Yeah.
So I remember I invested into that. And then that's how I met a lot of people in the industry, like made a lot of connections. And it really did help me. It was like running agency, as everybody's tried, it's pretty difficult. So you wear so many hats, but it taught me a lot of infrastructure of like what it could look like. And that's what kind of got me going. But last July, Brian Magnosi, the guy who I was doing Entre with, he actually asked me to come sell for him. So I was like, oh man, it's kind of hard to leave my job. He's like, I'll pay you like what you're making now and then get you out. So like I credit a lot to him, like for him getting me out of my actual 9-to-5 corporate, like everything. But everything I learned up to that point positioned me to do that. And so that's when it kind of happened. So I did that for a couple months. It was a very like, we were building it. So it wasn't as consistent as I wanted it to be. But I remember interviewing with Savannah in like September. I was like, recruitment, like, I think this sounds cool. I know people on the team. And then I got on with Austin, Savannah, Jacob. They're all talking to me about how like, hey, dude, you should just go do sales. And I was like, no, I need like a set thing. Because I came from the W-2. My family's very traditional in the sense of like my dad worked for the state. My mom's a nurse, had a paycheck coming in, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Realistically, what happened was I let like 2 weeks go by, and Brian randomly posted something on Facebook, and I DM'd him like, hey, dude, like I saw you post something. You guys looking to hire anyone? He goes, yes. And then we set up a time, and this is when making connections all happened. Jared Warwick saw my name on Brian's calendar, goes, oh, you're interviewing Jacob? That dude's cool. I want to work with him. And then it kind of all happened from there. So that was last November. So that's a little like very quick rerun, but that's how I got here now. So this is essentially like my first actual sales.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of really good stuff in there, and I'm going to try to like pick some pieces out because very much so, like you said, there's so many things like, and you know, Cole talks about it all the time, and like we talk about it in the remote closing space of like, there's just, when you start anything new, whether it's like a social media marketing agency or drop shipping or whatever, if you start off green, there's immediately like a million different things you have to learn how to do, right? You have to learn the operations, the marketing, the sales, the appointment setting, the fulfillment, the ads, like all this type of stuff. So what parts like specifically from that do you feel like you pulled most into like what you're currently doing now?
You mean from like running an agency to now?
Yeah, exactly.
So like, the things I learned from an agency was essentially like, you have to be unique. You know, so there are people, business owners, I did personal injury attorneys. So let's talk about that for a second. Like gatekeepers, like they didn't want to talk to anybody. Like you had to be unique. You can't be by the book. You can't be by scripted, anything. So I took that into this coming in with zero experience. All I knew is like, I came from restaurants where I felt like I had some decent communication skills and intuition of how people like hold themselves. So that's what I brought in from that. I learned like I have to be unique. I have to stand out in my business then to even get clients. That's the only way I got clients because I was awful at selling. Like when it came down to like how much are you gonna charge me? I was like, $2,000. Like I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think I was gonna get to this point. But that's how funny it was back then. But now taking that into just at the end of the day, every single person you talk to is just a person that wants something. And if you're able to offer them help, they're more open to it, right? And that's what I took into this is like, just listen and find out at the core why they're even looking for help or how can I help you in some way? And if I can point you in a good direction, pass you on stuff. So that's what I learned from like running my agency and business is just like, be unique and stand out and like, if you fall in with everyone else, you're going to be like, there with everyone else. The people who excel, like the people who make the most money in this world are exceptional they'll pay you exceptional money to be exceptional at one thing instead of being mediocre at 4 or 5 things. That's kind of how my brain shifted in that sense. It's like, dang, I can get really good at one thing and that'll propel me to do all the things that I want to do instead of trying to do 4 or 5 things and not being able to like be that good at it.
Yeah. For those of you that haven't caught on to it, and I kind of mentioned it, but Jacob is actually a setter within, the Remote Closing Academy. So he has a chance to talk to a lot of people, on the inside, we'll say, right? People that are like coming from the podcast or the YouTube channel or the Instagram or from some sort of ad that they see, Cole on. What is like the conversation that you usually have with people? Because I think this is like even with some of the stuff that I do on Instagram, like this question comes up so much of, I don't have any sales experience and like, I don't know if I could do this. Like sales feels kind of gross because someone like you, like you did have at least some experience. And like, I worked in the restaurant industry too. So like, it definitely helps. Like you got to like build rapport and like talk to people someone you walk up to and you have no idea who you are. Right. So what is like that conversation that you usually have with people to help them understand, like you literally don't need sales experience to see success in something like this?
Yeah. Something that I've really done is, in a sense, like now, when I first started, it was really just, me trying to like paint them a clear picture. Like, oh, this is how this is different. Now I look at it as like, dude, that's fine. Honestly, it's almost preferable if you don't have sales experience because like we can establish the good habits and not break the bad. And how I look at it, I go, dude, traditional sales, you think car sales, insurance, like telemarketing, you get a bad rap because they're like, let me twist your arm and you're going to buy this. What I tell people is this is more leadership-based enrollment than sales. You're guiding someone to a goal that they're looking for. In traditional sales, you get minimal to no training, and then you have to door knock, cold call, pay for leads, pay for your marketing for life. Something like this, you invest into your skill set one time, and the leads are on the business owner for life because you've developed that skill set, And that's how I frame it to people. I'm like, yeah, because what you're doing is you're learning a whole different skill set. It's like if you like think of Michael Jordan, who's the best, like great. I mean, some people might disagree, but like the best basketball player ever. What happened when he went to baseball? Right? Like he was just like, okay, he couldn't really cut it. Even though he's the best at one area, this is a different sport. So like, that's why you don't need sales and foundation. If you can communicate and just listen to someone at the end of the day, that's going to get you way farther, especially if you're speaking on something that you truly believe in.
The point that you touched on was like you kind of have to unlearn the bad habits because everyone knows like those general examples of like, I use the one of if you're walking in the mall and you see someone in the middle, like you almost like you just don't want to make eye contact with this person because they're about to like pounce and try to sell you something you probably don't need, right? So some lotion or whatever. But that's like a huge thing that I think holds some people back is like they're just scared of the word sales, And I think you hit the nail on the head of like when you can transition it from thinking, I need to sell them this thing that they probably don't even need to I'm selling them out of their current situation that they don't want to be in anyway and like furthering them in their path. I think it makes it so much easier to help as opposed to sell. So with you, jumping into like onto the RCA team specifically and obviously, the connections of knowing Brian and John and everyone, what was the, I guess, transition into that? Like, did you hit any like roadblocks up front? Like, or was it just like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like, let's rock and roll.
Oh, no. It was a adjustment. Anybody who goes remote, especially when they work, one of the funniest things ever is like any like small noise that I heard in my house, I thought everyone could hear. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like there's something going on. Yeah. But like, it's so normal now. But the biggest transition for me, like professionally, was I remember coming in, they're like, listen, if you don't perform in the first 2 weeks, you're gone. Like basically that was expectations. I was like, got it. So my thing was just like, all right, I got to figure this out the most fast possible way I can. And like, we didn't have some of the structures we have now. So it's more of a free for all back then. So I remember just grinding because I was like, listen, I put the work in now, like this grind season. I put that work in now. I'm going to reap the benefits later. The adjustments for me though, was literally just like learning the tech more than anything. Cause I wasn't a big tech guy. Mm-hmm. I was just like, all right, so I have my calendar here. All right, I have like Alloy, which is our dialer and stuff. That was the scariest part for me. I was like, what if I don't figure this out? But just like everything, you're going to have support, you learn. But yeah, but legit, the biggest adjustment for me was 100% just like the expectations coming in to like provide, and then also like the tech. So that was the adjustments for me. When it comes to the actual like criteria of like doing it, 100%, like I had to learn like our frameworks and like how it worked. I remember the first day on your calls or on my calls, like I knew what Remote Closing Academy was, but I'm just like, man, if someone asks me like a question that I don't know, like what am I gonna say?
Yeah.
So like those are the funny things going in. But yeah, that's kind of how I felt like really coming in, the adjustments I had to make.
Yeah. What do you think, or what would you say is maybe, because you've, I mean, basically been on the team for about a year or so, and like I mean, me maybe closer to I'm trying, when did I jump in? But maybe like a year and some change as well. But like for you, when you, you've probably seen like a lot of people come and go, right? In terms of like the sales team. And that's not just, because of our team. That's just natural industry kind of like if someone comes in and they don't want to do the work, it's like you're not going to really hang out here for that long. But what would you say maybe like for people that are looking to be, let's say, jump into that setter role, and it's like the first thing that they're doing, what are some things that maybe you maybe even give people that jump on our team, like tips, like, hey, here's something to look out for, here's like best practices, maybe just a couple like tips maybe for potential setters that are listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, as a setter, I treat setting as a game. And this might sound weird. I actually talked about this on our 7SA call yesterday. I'm like, setting is a game to me. Like, if you think of a video game, like you have the proper way to play, right? I think Mario Kart even. Like, you got to go around the track, you got to win and everything. But in the game, there are shortcuts. There are ways to make it easier, more efficient for you. And then even in video games, there are cheat codes. So like you learn these things within setting that make things so much easier on you, that once that happens, it's just like an epiphany. So I tell setters when they first start, like focus on like the basics, right? Manage your calendar, manage your people. Because if you manage your people, they'll like help you later on. Like just care about everyone. Don't focus on like your inputs will determine your outputs. If you have the ability to like put in the work, like when you first come in somewhere, focus on that. But I know when it comes to setting, I feel like there's no structured way for success. Everybody has their own style. Everybody has their own way. But for me personally, I manage my people really tight. I pride myself on follow-up, but I also like just understand anyone I'm on the phone with, they have my undivided attention. Like, because if I believe in my heart that I can help you, like that's going to give me so much more conviction later on if I go to set you or close you, even if you don't believe in yourself. Because I'm never going to sell someone or set someone that I don't think I can help, because that's not beneficial to anyone. So, but when it comes down to as a setter at the end of the day, we're not really selling anything. We're just providing clarity to make sure this could be the best path for you. Then if it is, connect you with a coach and or a closer. So like just lean out, have fun. Video games are fun. So have fun on your calls. That's the biggest thing I could say, is because if you stress out too much about it, dude, like if you stress out about the outputs, it's going to be hard to do the inputs. Detach yourself from the outcome. Things will fall in line if you're doing all the right things.
Actually, I was going to lead right into that. Like how, it's one thing to say, hey, like disconnect from the outcome, but like, how do you actually do that? Cause especially if, a lot of times, depending on the team that you jump on, it's either a base plus commission, or sometimes if, on track earnings are high enough, it's just straight commission. So how do you stay disconnected from the outcome so it doesn't affect like later calls?
For me personally, I've always viewed it as if you don't enjoy your life outside of your work, you're not going to enjoy what you're doing in the work, and it's going to make it so much harder. Like I took up CrossFit. That's a passion of mine now. Like I'll compete with that. Like I do it every day. My health is the best it's been. Like if I have a reason to like enjoy my life outside of work, it's so much easier for me to detach, right? Because I can go work out. I can go spend time with my girls. I can play a video game if I want, go on a run, go visit family. I can do all these things. If you don't have something that you genuinely enjoy in life, or you feel like you're miserable, you're going to focus so much on your work and things that are going wrong, right? Because then if you're hanging out and you're loving life, you're going to focus so much more on the positive sides. Like, let's go. Like, even if it's low, like I helped this person, even though it didn't close, I helped this person. And you could talk about it instead of being negative and thinking, man, like this person didn't close because of so. So like just enjoy your life outside of work will make it so much easier to detach. So you got to find those things that you genuinely enjoy. And that makes it so much easier. You know, it's because when I first started, like I said, I wasn't in a super, super good place financially, but I had to focus on like finding things that I genuinely enjoy. And I attached to my kids at that time. And I was like, I'm doing this for them so that I can take them on trips, so I can do all these things. And like it was very goal oriented to me. But that kept me moving forward and being able to detach from the outcomes. I always knew that if I put in my inputs, they would fall. If I missed projections one week, I was going to exceed the next week because it was just a fluke. That's what I always told myself. I had a very competitive mindset that like my work will pay off because I'm doing all the right things.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that's so good. And like, even just knowing, because I've known Brian at this point since 2017, I don't know that deep into like the sales side of it, but I also know he runs like a tight ship. And for you to be able to like, do the things that you love, give you the motivation, and also like still, perform at a really high level. And I mean, even in only a year, right? It's like you're freaking crushing it in that short amount of time. So like touching on that part, like for someone that is, let's say they are making that transition from, old like traditional ways of work, right, or whatever, blue collar, white collar, and they're now jumping into like the lion's den of like just sales, like commission based. Like how do you manage? I guess like I wouldn't say like high pressure, but kind of, right? Like it's not like you're sitting in a boiler room making 900 cold calls a day.
Yeah, like the expectations.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, the best way. And this was for me, I can speak for myself. The way I managed the expectations coming in was like, I like internally like process what the expectations were, that if I didn't do this, I wasn't going to be here and I couldn't provide for my family. Right. I mean, that's harsh. That's why I told myself. But the way I like process it is I took it back to like whether I was playing like basketball or like any kind of sport. It was like, dude, if you don't provide, you're not going to play. If you don't do the right things, you're not going to be as efficient as you could and go as far as you want doing that. And like I said, I came from a competitive background. If you don't come from a competitive background, just find something that fuels you to help manage those expectations. Cause like it's all of us, we're not having like Brian, like I never had Brian be like, you're projecting this many closes at this. Like we project it. So we have to hold ourselves accountable to high say-do ratio. If we say we're going to do something, we do it. If you miss that, have a really good explanation of why you did and understanding of what went into why you missed it. So just being able to articulate yourself and realize all these things will get you way farther and help you manage those expectations. Because that's a big thing. I know that's more of a mindset, but it just adjusts for everyone. But, some places are a little bit more strict than others. Some people are like, you can do part-time. Some people are like, nah, like, you should be doing this many calls a day, this many calls a day. Dude, just focus on it and have fun. That's at the end of the day, that's how I manage my expectations. I told myself, I was like, literally, I'm sitting at home. My family's out this door. Like there's literally no other job where I'd be able to do this and make the income and be able to still do the things I love. So have fun with it and just realize how blessed you really are to be in that position. Especially if you're transitioning out of a typical 9-to-5 or something like that, where, you were working all the time. You were only getting paid what that company wanted to. So there's like, find where you are and hone in on like your goals, and you'll realize like how blessed you really are to be in this position. Cause there's so many people that can't be in the position you're at.
Yeah. The one thing that you said about like the mindset stuff is, back in like, let's say 20, like before I made the transition to like a lot of this online stuff, like I think I was not like against like the whole like mindset realm of things, but more of like, I kind of thought it was like this woo-woo, like, like you don't really need to worry about that. But when you realize that is the game, like it's not like at the end of the day, like you are literally competing with what's up in here, right? Whether it's like you wake up and you're like, I don't feel that great today. Like you get over that in here, right? It's all the things that you're telling yourself. So it's like I think that's a really huge part. And then obviously expectations too. So dude, we have to touch on, what was the record month that you hear? What month was it?
It was August.
Okay. And then how many set closes?
51
set closes for you guys to understand, like, and we talked about this in like our overall team meeting. That is literally insane. Like I've like it's just like I can't even like fathom like, you know, because when you start to break down percentages and like the amount of people that you probably had to talk to, like, so from just an overall standpoint, let's just break it down. Like, what did that month look like for you? Were you always pacing 50 set closes? Like what did that look like? Just high level for now.
Okay, so I always tell people exactly how this worked, and this is how my brain worked. So we, like, as a company, we had like a growth, and then like things like with marketing, we were trying to figure things out. So May happened, right? That was going, and we were like 2 weeks in, and I'm at 22 closes in May. So I was like, oof. I was like, I'm gonna break the record, like, because our record originally was like 40. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna break the record this month. You know, but then we tested some things, you know, switched some things around, like moving pieces, ended up not breaking it that month. And then like through the summer, we were doing a lot of that too, to really like lay the foundation of where we're at now, to get us where we want to go. But I consistently continued to hit my projections through June and July, and then stacking like pipeline. I was like, all right, they can't come in now, but they're going to come in sometime. Mm-hmm. So like, I would just do that. Like, and so then when August hit, we find out we're getting like the new financing thing again. And I go, oh boy. I was like, here we go. Cause I already told myself, I was pacing it in May. So I was like, all right. And when August started, we found that out. I remember telling Matei, you probably asked Matei, I go, yo, whenever we get everything aligned, like, I am breaking the record. Like, it's going to happen. So, like, first week, it was like a short week in August or something like that, if I recall. Mm-hmm. I think in August, I literally had 1 week where I had under 10 closes. Like, it was nuts. And it was like 8. It was like 8. But like, they were like 12, 13, 8, 12. It was something crazy. And I remember being halfway through the month, and I was at like 20, 24, 25. And Brian just goes, so what's it going to take for you to hit 50? And like in my brain, I was just thinking of breaking the record of 40. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I thought 50 was just like that, away out there. Coming to the last week, I was already at like 43. So I was just like, we saw it a full week, and I was just like, this is actually possible. Like, this could happen. But it was funny. I wish I had the recording somewhere. I think it was John or Aaron Wolverton go, can we just acknowledge that Jacob broke the record? And Brian just sits there like this. He's like, it's not a win unless it's 50.
I could just literally see Brian in his chair.
Just like he literally was just that. Like, he really was like, yeah. He's like, but dude, it's 50 or bust. That's exactly how he said it. So I was like, it's 50 or bust, I guess. But I remember hitting, it was the last day. I got like 3 closes, which pushed me over the line, and it was wild, dude. It was just like such a surreal thing. But I think it all primed, and it goes back to mindset. In May, I told myself, all right, this is why it didn't happen this month. Then I was actually training a decent amount of setters and helping Matei during the summer. So I was like, all right, like I'm gonna hit my projections, keep stacking. Then August happened. Legitimately, probably 50% of my closes were from pipeline follow-up. So like, it all just like fell in place. Yeah. And then just went from there. So like, it was a fun ride. But I attribute it to, like, if I had my mindset off, if I was thinking in any other way, wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have been focusing on the things I needed to focus on to make it happen. Like, yeah, like
the planet is literally aligned for that. But like, I don't think, it comes back to the whole thing of, manifestation. It's like, you can't just like sit in a room and be like, all right, I manifest this thing to happen, and like the planets align. It's like there's things that go into exactly, yeah, like the things that go into it. So yeah, so on the more tactical side, what are some of those things? We touched on follow up. What are some of the things that helped you get to that point?
Cool. Okay, so like, I have a list. Like, I literally have a reoccurring list that I have. It's like a doc that I made of every single person I've ever set that has not closed and why. And so when every month, if I have a downtime, I go back through and I'll hit those people, text, call them, whatever. But so also on my calendar, I have daily tasks instead of just like popping stuff on my calendar. I have daily tasks I can continuously move over. So I'm always having something in my face telling me, call this person. Oh, you're not doing anything. You're sitting in your chair. Call this person. Because like my days are organized chaos, I say in my mind. There's no like structured way I do everything. But like truly, like I leverage texting so much, having conversations on my phone calls. I literally just focused on being present with those people. In August, I literally felt like I was so in pocket. Anyone who talked to me was buying, right? Because I was just like, I'm going to find the reason you even looked at this, because you filled out your information for some reason. You're going to tell some stranger on the phone why you did that. And I was able to just really get people to open up and really hone in. But like the tactical things, like I wish I could tell someone I did something crazy different. I just feel like I did everything that I was supposed to. The nights before, I would go look at the calendar, every closer, every setter's calendar. I personally feel like to this day, still, I know every closer and setter's calendar better for the next day than they do. Because like I knew exactly when there was a double booking, whose triage the setters were, like everything. So like those are the things I would do at night, and I would write things down. I would make sure I'd send auto confirmation texts out, like literally the minute things. And I think that's what it goes back to when we were a kid. We were always told the little things are what matter. The small hinges swing big doors type thing, and that's truly what I embodied that month. Like there was not one little detail that I missed. Like, and that's the biggest takeaway, like tactically, that I would say is like, take your time. If you put in an extra 30 minutes at the end of the night when you're doing your end of days and your admin work to go like a little farther, maybe text a couple follow-ups, that is going to help. Like, I get we all want to sign off at the end of the day, but that's it. But I truly feel like it's just because I genuinely love what I do. So like, it's not work to me. I could be sitting at my computer at 10 o'clock at night. Like literally I could play a video game and I'll minimize my game and like text somebody. Like it's just, I genuinely enjoy it. But tactically, I just feel like I did all the right things. Like I did everything that as we're told as setters and sales reps to be doing, I literally did. So that's what it would be for me.
Yeah, man, that's huge. It's the little things, and just like you said, doing the things that you like are supposed to and should be doing anyway, right? Like as a setter. And like if you just do those things, it is going to, you will manifest at the end of the month, what you actually deserve, after doing the stuff.
I wish I could be more tactical, but it truly is. Because like if you think about it, in all of our jobs, when we were 9 to 5, whether we're doing setting right now, whether we're doing closing, if we skip a step or we don't do something, it makes our job so much harder. Boss get on you. You don't see the closes coming in. You don't set the right people. So literally, if you just do what you're supposed to do at a high level, like that's going to take you so much farther. There's no like special sauce. And that's why I laugh sometimes about it, is just like, guys, really just don't skip steps. It's going to make it harder on you. So
yeah, I think that's people are always looking for like what's the secret? And I'm sure maybe not like necessarily like in our team, because I think everyone kind of understands like you got to do the things that get you to that point. But I'm sure because you did a different like interview in the RCA group, right? Or like maybe a couple weeks ago. Maybe not.
Maybe.
Oh,
I mean,
it was like a setter call, I think, or something along those lines. But where I was going to,
in the Ascension.
Yeah. So I'm assuming something like you probably got questions of like, what's the secret? Like how do I do that? And you probably had the same answer. I'm just like,
yeah, it really was. Yeah, it really was. And I try to like reflect to closing too, the same way, right? Like, because I'm not closing yet. I'm starting closing full time next month. But
well, first of all, congrats, dude. That's awesome.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, it's just like learning all the right things. Like literally at this point, this whole month, like I'm taking 1 week and focusing on discovery. I'm taking next week focusing on pre-pitch. Like, dude, just breaking everything down. What I've learned, and this is one thing that you can take into setting or closing. If you have a really good discovery, makes the whole call so much easier. Closer or setter. If you have a pretty trash discovery, you're not going to be able to overcome any objections at the end of the day for anything, because you truly didn't listen. And that's how I look at it. But yeah, I think I remember now on the Ascension call, they were asking questions about how I did certain things. I'm like, guys, like really, there's no special sauce, because some of the people on there like used to be on the team as well. So like, just that's how I look at it. At the end of the day, I just truly enjoy my life outside of what I do. So I feel like when I talk to someone, it translates. Because if I don't enjoy my life and I'm telling someone how I can help them enjoy their life, it's not going to seem genuine. So
yeah, fully embodying it's like the law of the mirror, right? Like you got to make decisions and help people and give them the advice that you embody yourself. Because if not, it's like I feel like it's kind of sketchy in the first place.
You say something like, imagine being like, man, I talked to a lot of people. I know you're going to do great at this. And if you're just like saying it, you're like, what?
Yeah.
I think, is it Owen Cook? Owen Cook, the way he like his trainings, like the way you verbalize, there's different ways you say things.
Yeah.
AIM turned me on to that. And man, that's just like, if you go watch that, I think it's back in one of the old groups, like that is just a sick training, because like the way you say something just can convey so much of a message, and approval seeking opposed to like all that. It's like next level stuff, but I'm a nerd about it now. Like I love this stuff.
Yeah. Just general tonality, and like, yeah, it's not necessarily about, what you say, but about how you say it, right? You can have the best sales script in the world. We can give, our setter script to a different setter. And if they just don't, if it's said in the wrong way, it becomes a lot harder to set them or ultimately close. So I want to be respectful of your time. Just a couple of things, like I guess some of the last questions that we usually ask people, like what for someone that is, and we kind of touched on this already, but like for someone that is currently in like a 9-to-5 or a job, some sort of other job or their other obligations or whatever, and they're like on the cusp of like, I think this remote closing stuff sounds kind of cool. Like, what would you say to that person to maybe get them over that edge and to at least just like learn more about it?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's think to yourself or write down exactly like what your goals are in life. I know that sounds cliche, but like write it down, think about it. Can you achieve those where you're at right now? If you can, weigh the timeline. How long is it going to take me to achieve these goals? What is the time restraint that I'm going to lose by doing this too? Like, do you have kids? Are you going to miss things? Like, you got to think big picture, right? Because all people think about sometimes is like, oh, I have to invest into learning something, but what's the value you're going to get out of it? For me personally, like if Aaron, if you and I were on a triage call and you were like, man, I'm just so on the fence, I don't know about it, I truly would just ask you like, well, dude, walk me through like big picture, like personally or professionally, what are you really looking to achieve? Like if you can tell me what you're looking to achieve and you can articulate that, and then we have a good conversation about it, I can then like tell you if this could be a viable path for you or not. Like, I'll be honest with someone, but the biggest thing I would look into is just look into yourself and what your goals are. Can you reach that where you're at now? If not, you're going to have to find another way to do that. And like, there's zero pressure into like reaching out to someone like us, because like really at the end of the day, what we're doing is we want to find out the same thing too. Is this best for you? So yeah, like if you're on the fence about it, inquire just for information. No one's going to twist your arm and tell you need to buy something. It's just think about where you want to go. And in a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where you want to be, if you can't reach that where you're at, then something's going to have to change, whether it's your job, because you don't want to change your goals, right? Don't change your goals because of your life circumstances. That's where a lot of people fall trapped to. They're like, man, like my job's only going to allow me to do this, so I have to lessen my goals. No, you keep your goals the same. You find a way to fix what you can fix. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would tell a lot of people is it's scary to jump into something new, but stepping out of your comfort zone is when you truly achieve greatness. And if you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, dude, no one can stop you.
Yeah, dude, such a good point. And I think just a lot of people are gonna be able to listen back to this. And I'm glad that we did this, because it definitely just shows like, if you even if you have sales experience, you don't, whatever, if you can just take the steps and just do what we recommend to do and tell you to do, like there's no way that it can't happen if you do the things that you need to, you know? So before we hop off here, man, any just, you know, last words to someone that, you know, just anyone in general, right? Someone that is currently a setter and maybe they're, you know, they need to hit projections and they're feeling the pressure, or they're, you know, they're working their job, or just anything to anyone that's listening to this up to this point.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're at your job, if you're a setter, you're a closer, like really at the day, anybody who hears this is just have fun with what you're doing and just take a zoom out, right? Zoom out and think like you're at where you're at. Even if you're a 9-to-5 job you don't like, zoom out and realize, why are you doing this in the first place? If you're a setter, you're not like on pace to hit your projections. Zoom out and think, dude, I get to talk to people every day, just like, and help people. Why am I stressed out about this? What's the worst thing that can happen? The biggest thing is zoom out. Because once you zoom out and you can appreciate where you're at, whether it's you're in your 9-to-5, whether it's you're a closer or a setter, you're just going to genuinely have better conversations, just consistently love what you do because you have something to look forward to. Because you zoom out so you can look forward. I don't know. That's how I look at it. So just don't stress it so much. At the end of the day, like life is a journey, right? I said the other day on a call, you got to think like steps to success are small increments. If you fall, it's a smaller fall. It's better to fall from 1 foot than 10 feet, right? You don't want to you want to go from ground bottom to 10 feet. And if you fail, fall on your face, right? So you want to take steps to success. So these things, some people move faster than others. So don't compare yourself to someone else. Just consistently compete with yourself. And that's going to be such a way more healthy relationship in your mind than genuinely looking at someone else and trying to compete with them. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's some advice I would give to any new setter who's doing it, closer, anyone in some kind of role like that, is just compete with yourself over someone else. And you're going to be in a way more healthy mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfect, man. I think you said it perfectly from just an overall standpoint of fully encompassing anyone that could be listening to this. And all that being said, you know, if you've enjoyed, those who are watching this, listening to this, if you've enjoyed this episode, and actually this is probably one of the only times we'll be able to say this, but we have a link down in the description or in the show notes of this video. And if you opt in there and check out the video that's on the next page, you might have a chance to talk to Jacob. You might, he'll see it in the software and stuff, people that come from the podcast and the YouTube channel. So he's transitioning into closing here soon. So he might be, the person that you're talking to, or maybe even just the first person there. So all that being said, the video in the description or the show notes, it's going to bring you to another page. It's going to bring a video with our founder, Cole Gordon, and he just breaks down the whole process around remote closing, what it is, how you can jump into it if it's something you're interested in, and check that out. Or, if you don't want to do that, you can still just hang out here on the podcast or the YouTube channel and learn pretty much everything that you want to about remote closing anyway. So, Jacob, once again, thanks for hopping on with us and spending the hour. And if you guys have any questions, you need anything from us, let us know. Aaron here from the Remote Closing Academy podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Talk soon.
All right. Peace, guys.